I started in sales when I was in college, right around when I was 20. My first sales gig ever was selling personal training contracts. So I basically sold gym memberships, personal training contracts, and that's kind of where I fell in love with sales, not because of, closing or not because of the money. It was really because that's why I learned how to solve someone else's challenge or someone else's problem, right? We grew our top line revenue by about 25 mil in annualized recurring revenue. Grew the sales team to about 50 reps. I think regardless of the industry that you're in, I think the first thing you always want to do is make sure there's a playbook. I always encourage sales leaders who jump into a role, regardless of the industry that you're in, is after you learn and then after you do, then optimize, right? Wait till your third month before you really start optimizing things and putting your own thoughts and your own processes in place, right? Seeing potential versus what's on paper, right? You can see what's on paper and say, hey, no, you're not a fit. Or you can see what's on paper and say, okay, they have the certain qualities. Let me continue to dig. Let me interview. Let me have other people interview. Let me continue to dig to see if they have the chops to do this job.
This episode is brought to you by Venture Mastery, a platform bringing you the best talent from the entrepreneurial world. The platform which connects successful entrepreneurs to other business owners aiming to achieve success. If you've ever wanted to get more leads, more customers, and more revenue, if you ever wondered what successful business owners do differently, what strategies do they follow, how do they apply and execute, if you ever wondered how other entrepreneurs manage to scale their businesses, then you're in the right place. Our mission is to become one of the best educational resources for entrepreneurs who have tried and failed continuously. Anyone can build a business, but only 1% can master it, grow, scale, and prosper. We help you get into that 1% with proven methods used by seven-figure entrepreneurs from all around the world. We will cover all aspects of running a business successfully from a practical standpoint, covering everything you need to know about money and finance, leadership, sales, marketing, wealth management, mindset, and how to get you motivated day by day. So if you'd like to find out more about our programs, keep up to date with our upcoming online courses and one-to-one interviews, please follow us on either Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or other social media platforms of your choice at Venture Mastery, or check us out online at www.venturemastery.co.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure finding you here. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Phil Emery, founder and CEO of Venture Mastery. And today we have a special guest, Anthony Zhang. Zhang, is it the right? How you pronounce
it? Zhang, you got it, man. You nailed it. Yep, you nailed it. Perfect. First try.
And by the way, so that to avoid confusion, there is another Anthony Zhang. Probably you know each other.
Yeah, no, I saw. He's the CEO or founder of another company, right?
Yeah. He's also he's sort of in a startup field. Started very early with businesses, establishing certain kind of businesses. I'm also planning to interview him, but I didn't want to get confused our audience.
Yeah.
And let's you are in the sales. You are on expert in the field of sales. I've checked your profile and it's amazing. At least for the last 12 years, as long as I remember, you worked. Yeah. You started from the bottom, just like me, because I also started my career as a sales professional. I was selling, by the way, cable TV and internet packages. I was door-to-door knocking,
the hustle.
That
I like it.
Like of sales,
Right.
It was like I hated for a while, but it was all about the numbers. I knew that I need to knock at 30 or 20 doors so that I can get the sales, and it was actually worthwhile doing that. So I learned a lot.
Love it, man.
tell us a little bit about your background, and we can deep dive into a certain topic. We will figure out which one would be more beneficial for you and for our audience. Just tell a little bit about your background.
Yeah, let's do it. So I started in sales when I was in college, right around when I was 20. My first sales gig ever was selling personal training contracts. So I basically sold gym memberships, personal training contracts, and that's kind of where I fell in love with sales. Not because of closing, or not because of the money. It was really because that's why I learned how to solve someone else's challenge or someone else's problem, right? So I had all these different clients coming in, really giving me very personal information about family health problems, their own health problems, their own they're just unhappy. And so I found providing them with these personal training contracts as a way to basically improve their way of life. And that's kind of how I connected the dots between what I really found passionate about sales is being able to improve someone's personal life or someone's business, right?
Yeah.
And so I
This is
did that for a
what you
while.
call actually value-based selling.
Value-based selling, you got
You
it.
find a solution for the best solution possible for a certain problem. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so, from there, I've sold things from like, T-Mobile contract, retail, ad space in sports programs. I actually did telemarketing for a while. That was a grind. And then, I landed my first tech SaaS based gig at Pardot. And funny story about Pardot, I already had like 3 years of sales under my belt. And so I thought I was, the king honcho over here. And, I had a piece of humble pie when Derek Grant, who's my boss at the time, said,
Your
you're not quite
mentor.
ready to be.
Your
Yeah,
mentor.
my mentor. Yes, absolutely. He was like, you're not quite ready to be an AE over here. You don't have enough SaaS experience, but what we are looking for an SDR. And I was like, well, what's an SDR? I've never heard of that before. This was back in, 2011, 2012. And so it was basically just setting appointments for the AEs, cold calling, all that kind of fun stuff. This was all pure outbound at the time. And so I was the first SDR at Pardot. And one of the things that we really had to figure out at the time was, what is the proper cadence? We call it cadence today, but what is the proper sequence of events, right? Calls, emails, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To get a hold of the decision maker or the buyer. And so I remember putting together a 11 by 8 whiteboard, dry erase whiteboard on my desk. It was right in front of me.
Yeah.
And I would literally write like C1 for call 1, E1 for email 1, and then I would draw an arrow with a number 2 for wait 2 days, and then C2, E2, another arrow for 3, and then so on and so forth. And so inevitably we created this 15 touch 20-day cadence that worked really well, and we were able to really grow and scale that process to about 14 SDRs. And then, I was able to fortunately transition to an AE. But while I was an SDR at the time, I didn't know this at the time, but Kyle Porter was actually shadowing me, kind of watching my watching my process on how I prospected, how I cold call, what did that flow look like? And he was in the background building a solution called Sales Loft. And so, fast forward about a year and a half, 2 years later, they have product market fit, and they're looking for their first hire, their first account executive. And Kyle reaches out to me like, hey, what are you doing? And this was right around the time when Salesforce had acquired Pardot. And so,
I remember
so I had the choice of either, staying with Salesforce, great name, great company, job security, right? Or, taking a pay cut and going to this 3-person startup, right? Where it's like, hey, you know what, you can try it out, build, the sales process from the ground up, and really see kind of how you do in this other role and this other challenge. And so, I made the switch to join Sales Loft as their first non-technical hire. And, we built the sales process from the ground up, Salesforce, Sales Loft, the demo flows, all the talk tracks, the playbooks, all that good stuff. Grew the team to about 14 account executives, and increased annualized revenue by about 12 million. And then I left to join QA Symphony from there. I was at SalesLoft for about 3 years. Joined QA Symphony as their head of sales development. Grew their pipeline contribution to about 400%. After that, I had the itch to start my own consulting company, my sales consulting company. So I had about 4 portfolio companies there, really managing a couple of different sales orgs at the same time. And one of the things that I missed about that was the culture, just having a team around me, being able to kind of walk around the water cooler, right, and kind of engage and connect with the team. And so I joined a company called Fat Merchant here in Orlando, Florida, in January 2018. Stayed there for about 3 years. We grew our top line revenue by about 25 mil in annualized recurring revenue. Grew the sales team to about 50 reps. And then most recently this September or October, we exited to Greater Sum Ventures as the majority stakeholder. And then that caused me to want to kind of look around again. I was fortunate enough to find the role that I'm in now, which is TradeWing. And so now we're doing it all over again. I joined the company. We had about 3 sales reps at the time when I joined and 1 sales director. And so it was just, again, building the foundation from the ground up. And so that's where I'm at today.
Thank you, Anthony. It's amazing. In a nutshell, you are professionally building sales machines, in building great teams, and so on. Everything, but it's all about sales. When will you write your first book?
It's funny you say that. I'm actually taking notes right now. I do want to publish a book at some point, but I think I need a couple more years of what I call credibility in order to get that book out. But I think, if I can show some success with TradeWing, then definitely I think that book might be next.
Yes, but you already showed you have tremendous amount of proof, by the way. Based on your career, what you achieved till now. So, and hopefully you will be one of the first, or at least belong among the first who will get instructors or trainers under Venture Mastery, because that's my plan. What I want to accomplish with Venture Mastery, to get people like you who have their own courses and to teach younger generation, because in my opinion the person they can learn mostly are those who went through these trenches, not only about theory.
Yep. Yeah, we all got to start somewhere, but that sounds great. I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah. I was thinking what topic we should get a little bit deep dive and have some specific what you experience. What would be your recommendation? It could be either about how to build a great sales team, or we can go deeply in either wholesale or retail. For example, retail could be a great example. You have the experience. How did you approach? What did you experience? What would be your recommendation for someone starting in retail? He doesn't have the team right now, and how the sales team would look like, for example, in retail?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So I think regardless of the industry that you're in, I think the first thing you always want to do is make sure there's a playbook, right? And so the motto that I always follow is do, document, and delegate, right? So even joining TradeWing right now, I joined TradeWing in December of last year. And so I haven't been here too long, but one of the first things that I wanted to make sure I did first and foremost was really learn, right? It's just have that growth mindset and really learn the product, learn the talk track, learn the script, learn the process, learn about what the other departments care about as well, right? So, what are their KPIs? What are the things that they're trying to track? Learn about your people, right? If you're coming into an organization, you're adopting a sales team, learn about your people. Don't just come in and start putting things in place, right? Ask them what they care about. Ask them what their career ambitions are, what their goals are, and be that beacon to say, hey, I'm going to support you in your goals. My goal is to support you in your goals. If you want to be a manager one day, if you want to be a senior executive or a senior, a sales associate, right? Whatever those things are, understand what drives them and be that proponent to help drive them in their career. And then I think the next thing is you got to be able to do the things that you say you're going to do, right? And I know that's very cliche or kind of obvious, but it means, jumping on the phones and making calls with your team. It means running demos with them. It means following the process that's already laid out before you start putting your process in place. A lot of leaders come in and they're like, all right, we're going to change things around, right? It's like, well, what's working and what's not? Figure that out first, right? And so the only way you can understand what's working and what's not is by doing it yourself. And by doing it yourself, you can start taking notes and saying, okay, this is the process. I might tweak this here and I might tweak this here. And not only are you figuring out the process on how to optimize, but you're also gaining credibility amongst your team, right? Because they're seeing you do it. They're seeing you jump in the trenches with them. They're seeing that you have now tribal knowledge of what you're talking about, right? Versus just putting things in place theoretically. And then the last thing is iterate and optimize, right? That's kind of the last thing. And so I always encourage sales leaders who jump into a role, regardless of the industry that you're in, is, after you learn and then after you do, then optimize, right? Wait till your third month before you really start optimizing things and putting your own thoughts and your own processes in place, right? Because you want to get the entire picture.
Yes, and last week I had an interview with someone who is also in the SaaS industry, just like you, with the trade wing. Yes, and we were talking about niche, up to niche down, and I noticed that with trade wing, you are also doing the same thing. You are focusing on for the associations, as I understand.
Correct.
And this is not by coincidence, as I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that our founders really had a pain towards was just the antiquated industry, right? So the associations industry is a very antiquated space. It's there's a lot of solutions out there that just don't really do what the members of the associations really care about or want, right? And so we saw that as a need to modernize this industry with something that members and also the staff are familiar with. So if you get a chance to look at our product, it looks very much like Facebook, right? And there's a reason for that. It's because why recreate the wheel when you know something works? And so we purposefully designed our solution to look and feel just like Facebook, but it is dedicated solely to your association. So your members now have a place to engage and connect and really, focus and learn on with one another on a shared interest.
And how shall we imagine? I've taken a look on your website, but I didn't get deeply involved. I noticed the screens with just like a Zoom-like video screen there. But this is something which will make people closer to each other, something like the sales, because it's all about the sales, but in a way, it's not the pushy way. It's about how to make connection closer and closer with your prospects, and step by step warming down, or I don't know, to get to the hot phase or something that it better. How do you approach this, or how can someone pick you, for example, regardless of only reading that it is for associations? For example, I'm an association. Why should I choose you, for example, and not someone else?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, like I said, it is a pretty antiquated space. So there's not a lot of really great solutions out there. I think that's first and foremost. And that's actually why I joined TradeWing to begin with, is because I like being kind of the industry disruptor, right? And so having a solution out there that really does what no other solution out there does, allowing your different individuals to share posts, articles, polls, news, events, and everything is all connected. Right. So the solutions today are very broken and siloed within their own things. And so, give you an example. Typically, the associations, they'll send an email with one platform or a daily digest with one platform. They use Zoom for their events. They use,
Yeah.
a forum for their communication, and all these different things are all over the place.
Yeah.
And as a member, if I'm over here trying to find information and resources and learn, I don't want to go to 5 different places to learn. I want to go to one spot and get everything that I need within that one spot. And so TradeWing has done a really good job of consolidating that.
So this means that it gets integrated all those other channels within your platform or something like that, just to
Correct.
make
Our
it.
platform has all of it. Yep.
Yeah. So it's if you have some case studies, something that you cannot forget because it was very valuable. You learned a lot from it. Anything you can share with us?
Yeah. Case studies in regards to with TradeWing.
Not necessarily. It's I'm trying to connect with your sales experience. It can be with Salesforce or whatever initial project you were working on. Something which is sticked into your mind that it can be a mistake someone did or you did, and
Absolutely.
you should avoid something
Oh
like
yeah,
that,
tons of that.
because
Tons of those experiences.
I think we could talk for hours about this, because if I take, for example, myself, I did a lot of mistakes, and these mistakes made us to learn something for the whole of our life. So yeah.
So leadership mistakes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Tons of them.
that's a great topic, leadership
Leadership
mistakes.
mistakes. I like that. I think early on in my career, my first stint at being a sales leader was at SalesLoft. And so, like I said, I was the first hire there. And it was my job to start recruiting, training, coaching, and ramping reps. And so, I think my first mistake there early on was not having a playbook, right? And it was not having so not having a standardized process. My way of training was literally, hey, shadow me on this call. Hey, shadow me on this demo. And the problem with that is not everybody is like you. Not everybody talks like you or articulates things like you, right?
We talk the first time now, so it's
exactly right. And so if I told you, like, hey, just shadow my demo and say the things that I say and say it the way that I say it, you're not going to be able to do that. That's just not you, right?
Yeah.
And so I think creating more of a framework. Don't create scripts and read off the script, but create a framework, create a guide, and help them understand why they're going down this guide in this manner, right? That way they can inject their own personality, their own style to it as well. As long as you have the key components that they hit on and make sure that they hit on them, that's important. So that was number one, is really as you continue to grow and scale a sales team, is make sure you build a playbook or a framework. Moving and continue to move into leadership. It was, I had a difficult time, or at least I didn't know at the time, how to relate to my reps, right? It was more of a do this because I said so versus a why does this matter to you? Why should this matter to you, right? So starting with the why. So if you've read Simon Sinek's Start With Why, fantastic book, right? But anything that you do, start with the why, understand from their point of view, seek to understand, and then empathize, right? And I think all those things are all molded together when you talk about sales leadership, which is, understanding the view or the perspective from your team or your account executives. Understand, what are some of their challenges that they're facing, right? Don't just go in and say, hey, your call numbers are low, I need you to pick them back up, right? That there is no empathy in that whatsoever, right? But it's like, hey, I noticed your call numbers were a little bit low this week. Are you okay? Right? That's a whole different conversation, right? Because you don't know what's going on in their lives, right? They can say like something's going on in their personal life, or they can say there's a challenge in system wise that's keeping them from making more calls, right? They're having struggles with this. Maybe they're not as vocal as some other reps, and you have to dig in, right? So I think seeking to understand and start, being empathetic about, what's going on with them, is something that I had to learn, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Empathy is extremely important, I think so, in leadership. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I have this whiteboard that's right next to me that's mounted on my wall, and I constantly just add things to it, that I reflect on as a leader. Knowing your why is very important, right? Why are you going into this initiative? Why are you going into why are you changing the process, right? Why? And then lastly, why does it matter to them? Right? You
Yeah.
can say like, hey, we're doing all these things, but at the end of the day, as sales professionals, we're like, how does this affect me? What's in it for me?
Yeah.
Right? Well, this
Yeah.
is going to help you, close more deals. This is going to help boost your commission. This is going to help you, handle these objections, right? Whatever, it's going to streamline your process, right? You always have to articulate process changes, all these different things as, well, what's in it for you? Why does this matter to you? Why should you care?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Fantastic. Uh, I don't want to force you to show us something on your whiteboard, but I'm planning to have interviews like that. So it's either me on a whiteboard or the interviewee, for example, like you, and you have the whiteboard and sketch something and explain
Yeah.
there and have that. It would be, I think, so fantastic. But hopefully next time we can try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it.
Okay, Anthony, this is a warm-up interview with you because we are getting to know each other, and hopefully we will repeat these kind of shows
I love it.
and
Let's do it.
get some deeply involved in something more specific. Um, if you have some more time, we can eventually pick something else. For example, um,
Yeah.
this was cool about leadership. And I think it's extremely hard to find really good sales stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's but for example for the younger generation, what I would find extremely important, you as a leader, to see the opportunity in that particular potential
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, staff member or employee, or rather not call them employee because I don't like that
Yeah. Yeah.
terminology. It's a team member, a future team member, but he might not be experienced as a sales professional because he's just starting out. But you as a leader, you can figure out, but by talking with him or
Mm-hmm.
some great signs, that there is the potential to make him become professional in on 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And this is something which you should communicate to him or her in a way that
Mm-hmm.
he will get motivated by you, for example, as a leader,
Yeah.
because he will see himself in you as what he or she could become in,
Yeah.
I don't know, in 2 or 3 years, rather than a leader who is not a leader, because there is a difference between a leader and a boss, for example.
Right.
Because okay, you are not good, okay, you don't have experience. But what I noticed and experienced throughout my career, that many entrepreneurs are not noticing the potential in that
Mm-hmm.
young uh, generation, potential new partner or new uh, team member.
Yep.
And I think this is crucial to understand.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We call it punching above your weight class, right? So Derek Grant, again, going back to him,
Yeah,
I think he took a chance on me. He saw the potential
yeah,
in me. He was very honest, right, with me, and he said, you're not ready to become an account executive here yet, but
yeah,
I see the potential in you, right? I see the
yeah,
potential in you, and so we're going to start you as an SDR, which, especially if you're transitioning industries, right? You're moving into an industry that you're not familiar with.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Being an SDR is a great launching pad. I would recommend anybody to kind of if you're thinking, well, I've already been in sales for X amount of years, I don't want to be an SDR, that's a move backwards. I would just recommend to check your ego on that and really think well, where do I want to be in the next 3, 5, 10 years, right? And if this is the industry or the niche that you want to be in and you're not familiar with it, being an SDR is the best launching pad to jump into that industry, right? I feel like I'm a much more well-rounded leader because I had that SDR experience, right? But going back to it, like Derek Grant took a chance on me as an SDR, and he saw me as someone that could punch above their weight class. And I think that's important, is that seeing potential versus what's on paper, right? You can see what's on paper and say, hey, no, you're not a fit. Or you can see what's on paper and say, okay, they have the certain qualities. Let me continue to dig. Let me interview. Let me have other people interview. Let me continue to dig to see if they have the chops to do this job in some kind of a capacity, right? Not exactly, in parallel, but, are they articulate? Are they intelligent? Can they communicate complex concepts and simplify them? Right. Are they do you enjoy just like, are they coachable? Right. Do you enjoy being around them? Are they coachable? Right. I think that those are things that are super important. And then lastly, I would chalk it up to skill versus will. People may not always have the skill. Right. But if they have the will, I am more than willing to invest my time in them if they want to learn, if they're taking feedback, if they're applying feedback immediately on their next call. Right. Then I see that and I hear that and I'm like, you got what it takes. All you need to do is have the will, the motivation, the drive to learn, to grow, to develop, and the skill will come. I will train you on the skill.
Yeah, I think that Derek saw himself in you when he was at that age.
Yeah.
Something like that, I think so.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's fantastic, Anthony. Okay, Anthony, thank you. I think it was enough as for now. I think it was extremely valuable, and I really hope that our audience liked it. And I really hope to meet you soon, sometime in the future.
Absolutely.
Okay, so. Anthony, thank you very much. And I really hope to meet you soon and continue our interview sessions. And who knows, sometime you will have your own courses as well.
Yeah, been a pleasure, Phil. Thank you so much for having me on. Looking forward to the next time.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
This episode was brought to you by Venture Mastery, one of the leading educational platforms for entrepreneurs aiming to grow and scale their businesses. Thanks for tuning in with me, your host, Phil Amory. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, where we'll get you updated with our upcoming courses, one-to-one interviews, and latest entrepreneurial success stories from around the world. I'd be honored to hear your thoughts and feedback. So please leave your comments and help us in producing even more engaging and valuable content for our next episodes. Thanks for joining us.